People in AEW were reportedly dismayed that the Britt Baker suspension story leaked out last week. Baker herself is set to return tonight live on AEW Dynamite, and she's also been cast in Netflix's Cobra Kai television series. Wesley shockingly turns heel last night, attacking the Rascalz on NXT's The Great American Bash Week 2. The judge has denied Vince McMahon's motion to enforce a federal court stay in the Janelle Grant lawsuit case. Joe Hendry says he might just stay for a lot longer in WWE NXT despite being under a TNA wrestling contract. Ethan Page retains the NXT Championship last night on the Great American Bash. Pete Dunn defeats former NXT champion Trick Williams. A new show has been announced by WBD involving AEW stars called TNT Overdrive, set to air following AEW Collision on Saturdays on TNT. AEW American champion MJF has detailed some of the travel issues he's facing ahead of Dynamite tonight. The Undertaker believes Logan Paul made the WWE United States Championship mean something. An update on how WWE perceives the recent performances of Jacob Fatu in the Bloodline. A brand new member of the No Quarter Catch crew has been revealed last night on NXT. More details on the proposed Hulk Hogan movie entitled Killing Gorka, with an Oscar-nominated director being in talks to helm the project. Liv Morgan becomes the latest WWE star signed to the Paradigm Talent Agency. NXT lead coach Matt Bloom reportedly is expected to be in attendance Friday night on SmackDown. Update on the WWE commentary shakeup and how things are still set to change when Raw moves over to Netflix later next year. WWE NXT superstar Wolfgang is set to compete on TNA Impact this week. Plus, Kota Ibushi has been announced for a DDT Pro match. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the latest surrounding Britt Baker, her status in All Elite Wrestling, her status for tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, as well as outside projects for the former AEW Women's World Champion. Now, a new report comes from PW Insider from Mike Johnson, kind of clarifying more issues surrounding the alleged incident between Britt Baker and MJF that led to Baker being fined and suspended by All Elite Wrestling. Now, Mike Johnson claims and is reporting that Baker was indeed suspended following an incident where she got into an argument with former AEW World Champion MJF. The argument was sparked by comments Baker is said to have made that got back to MJF. PW Insider are reporting they were told the initial spark was likely an older issue that flared up again when Baker made the comments. No one was willing to go into specifics on that, and a number of people were reportedly dismayed that the story even leaked, feeling it didn't help anyone that it did. Now, there are versions of the story that MJF rushed into the AEW women's locker room, or that Will Ospreay entered the women's locker room to speak with Baker. PW Insider is reporting that is not accurate. PW Insider is reportedly told that Ospreay knocked on the women's locker room door and asked to speak to Baker. She then entered a common area. Ospreay was never in the women's locker room, based on multiple sources. The MJF Baker argument did not happen in the women's locker room either. PW Insider have been told it was also in a common area backstage. Now, there is a version of the story that claims MJF threw a punch at a wall while arguing with Baker, which would insinuate he did so as a means of intimidating her. PW Insider have been told MJF indeed struck a wall, but did so out of frustration after the argument was over, and he was not with Baker at the time. As far as why Baker was suspended over MJF, it appears to be that it was felt that she precipitated the situation, and since MJF was responding to that, and in some versions of the story defending his girlfriend Alicia A. Tout, Baker was deemed the responsible party. Baker seemingly responded to the stories regarding the suspension with a post on social media that we covered yesterday. The suspension was mentioned on AEW Dynamite last week to put some additional heat on Mercedes Moné, building to the TBS Championship match at AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium. And critically, Britt Baker is expected back tonight live on AEW Dynamite. Of course, Dynamite is live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Now, it hasn't been specified in this report by Mike Johnson if she'll actually appear on the show show, but she's at least expected to be present backstage. So that is the latest when it comes to the story in question and how we kind of got here. As far as outside projects for Britt Baker, well, certainly at the moment she's centre of controversy involving her suspension within the company prior to All In, but she's also making headlines for some good news. She's been cast in Netflix's Cobra Kai series. PW Insider confirmed the news that Baker will be starring in the series that continues the Karate Kid's franchise story. The Outlook confirmed Baker will be playing a character in the final season, which was described to them as a European fighter on a team competing in an international karate tournament. Reportedly, Baker filmed her scenes before her return to AEW, which was delayed due to her filming. PW Insider could not confirm just how large a role the former champion will play in the series, but she is set to appear in later episodes. The series is set to premiere on Netflix in November. So Baker certainly in all the headlines right now. Now, going to last night's NXT The Great American Bash Week 2, we saw a major heel turn that not many people saw coming. The Rascalz are no more, following a heel turn by former NXT North American champion Wes Lee, following a loss for the NXT Tag Team Championships against Axiom and Nathan Frazer on Tuesday's episode of NXT. Lee and Zachary Wentz, collectively known as MSK, fought for the championships they never lost, as they were forfeited when Wentz was previously released from WWE, but the pair came up short. Frazer and Axiom have been having their own issues as a tag team for weeks, and even suffered miscommunication in the match where Axiom accidentally superkicked Frazer, but the pair held on to the gold. Following the match, Trey Miguel got into the ring to console his stablemates, but was met with violence from Lee's end. The group hugged in the middle of the ring, but as Miguel pulled away, he ate a big kick from Lee, and Wentz received a low blow. Lee said he wanted to be left alone and continued beating down his partners, sending Miguel through the ring barricade and Wentz into the steel steps at ringside. As he walked back up the ramp with his head held high, Lee offered no explanation for his actions. As for Wentz and Miguel, as of this recording, there is currently no word on if they will continue to appear on WWE NXT through the company's ongoing relationship with TNA Wrestling to continue this feud with their former friend. Now, a bit of an update when it comes to Vince McMahon and the ongoing lawsuit involving ex-WWE employee Janelle Grant. Now, Judge Jeffrey Mayer has denied Vince McMahon's motion to enforce the stay order in his lawsuit with Janelle Grant after she filed an action against Dr. Carlin Kolker seeking medical records pertinent to the case. After the lawsuit, in which Grant alleges sexual exploitation and trafficking at the hands of McMahon and John Laurinaitis, was stayed pending a Department of Justice investigation into allegations against McMahon, Grant sought medical records from Kolker citing discrepancies in those previously provided. In response, McMahon filed a motion for the enforcement of the stay order, reasoning that her actions had violated the order imposed in the suit. On August 6, Judge Jeffrey Mayer's response was filed, quote, "This court denies defendant McMahon's motion to enforce the court's stay order for failure to show that there has been a violation of the court's stay order," end quote. The filing reasoned that the federal court does not interpret the stay order as applicable in Grant's state court proceedings. It was further noted that if there was any objection to the state court's proceedings, those objections should be dealt with at the state level. Quote, "Miss Grant's attempt to seek discovery in state court despite a stay in federal court is completely underhanded and exemplifies her consistently deceitful behavior. We will, per the federal court's order, continue to pursue a court order to stop her," Jessica Taub Rosenberg, counsel to Vince McMahon, said in a comment. When asked for comment, Janelle Grant's attorney Ann Callis referred many publications to her comment when the motion was initially filed, quote, "We did not violate a federal stay by filing a state action against a non-defendant," end quote. Now, in Grant's action seeking medical records, it stated that she was sent to Kolker and his clinic, Peak Wellness, at the direction of McMahon, during which she received treatments including IV infusions and pills that were not disclosed to her. It's also said that when she asked of the substance, Kolker pushed back in refusal, quote, "He responded with pushback about trust, including, 'If you don't trust me, we have bigger problems. Of course, if we get any more details or more developments in the lawsuit or the stay order, we'll let you know in an upcoming video. Now, Joe Hendry, of course, one of the biggest beneficiaries of the working relationship between WWE NXT and TNA Wrestling. Joe Hendry has said he might be sticking around in NXT for quite some time longer. Joe Hendry told the NXT audience that next week they won't even have to say his name for him to appear following his victory over Gallus' Joe Coffey. Weeks of Coffey's jealousy at how popular the current TNA wrestling talent is in NXT came to a head during night 1 of the Great American Bash when Hendry performed a song about Gallus and the group attacked him in the middle of the ring. The match was set for Tuesday's episode of NXT, and Henry came out on top in his first ever WWE singles match over Coffey with a standing ovation for the 3 count. Following the match, Hendry, who remains under contract with TNA but appears on NXT and is even allowed to train at the Performance Center, was asked about his time with the developmental brand. Hendry said that the question sounded like the interviewer was talking about his time in NXT was about to end, but he says he likes it there and he, quote, might just stay for a lot longer. Hendry noted that many in the locker room wouldn't like to hear that, but that if they have a problem with him, they can find him on the show next Tuesday. Now, the current TNA star has previously explained that his current deal allows him to wrestle for both promotions, as well as on the independent scene and train at WWE's Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. WWE's relationship with TNA has been ongoing over the summer, beginning with Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace appearing to challenge for the NXT Women's Championship. Now, Ethan Page is still the NXT champion after successfully retaining the title last night. After weeks of attacks and phantom 3 counts at the hands of Oro Mensah, Ethan Page successfully defended the NXT championship against his rival on August 6th during the second week of the NXT Great American Bash. Now, Oro Mensah got close in the final moments of the match. He got a close near fall off a cartwheel kick. Page got the official 3 counts in his rivalry with Mensah after hitting an Ego's Edge. After his victory, Page declared it was no longer NXT but NX Me. Page also proclaimed that he didn't care who was next between Trick Williams and Pete Dunne. Obviously, we'll get to that in just a second because Pete Dunne got a shocking victory over the former NXT champion last night. Pete Dunne brings Trick Williams' NXT Great American Bash to a bitter end. After returning to NXT to target former NXT champion Trick Williams, Pete Dunne successfully picked up a victory over Williams during the second week of the NXT Great American Bash on August 6th. Pete got the victory when he capitalized after Trick missed his running knee and was slammed with the bitter end. After the match, Pete proclaimed that since it appeared Williams wasn't ready to challenge for the NXT Championship, he would happily do that. However, Trick overheard this and started brawling with Pete Dunne backstage. We'll have to wait and see indeed what's happening there. Of course, over on Raw, Pete Dunne is feuding with his former stablemate Sheamus. Now, a new show involving AEW stars is coming to TNT. Following the recent update on the WBD negotiations, a new TV series for TNT featuring AEW stars has been announced. On August 1st, Fightful Select revealed that the exclusive negotiating window for AEW's TV rights discussions with Warner Bros. Discovery have ended. AEW President Tony Khan then revealed that he had traveled to Paris to meet with WBD officials during the Olympic Games. Per PW Insider, TNT will be launching a new series titled TNT Overdrive on Saturdays at 10 p.m. Eastern following the airing of AEW Collision. The new series will feature crazy adrenaline junkie style clips with segments introduced by AEW stars as well as AEW talents telling stories about their lives and careers. Promotional material for TNT Overdrive series premiere reads, quote, elite athletes face giant grizzly bears, fierce cops chase runaway suspects, big tire UTVs race in mud, daredevils perform insane stunts, and POD drivers melt down. This, of course, is just the latest crossover between All Elite Wrestling and Warner Bros. Discovery properties following the recent collaborations for Shark Week promotion on AEW Dynamite, DC Comics publishing AEW material, and Adult Swim collaborating for a new show with the company. Now, MJF, he's headed to AEW Dynamite tonight, but it's quite tricky for the AEW American Champion. Now, Hurricane Debbie is currently wreaking havoc in South Carolina and Georgia as both states are dealing with severe flooding. Florida and the Carolinas are also getting hit hard, and the August 7th taping of AEW Dynamite at the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem might be affected. AEW American Champion MJF took to Twitter/X to write that all flights to North Carolina had been cancelled, likely because no one would want to go to that garbage state. He wrote that because he was an American hero, he had an obligation to his country, and he was driving 10.5 hours to make the show. MJF said that he would give Will Ospreay a preview of AEW All In by defeating Kyle Fletcher. You can see the tweet on the screen right there. Now, Logan Paul was United States Champion for several months, only defended the title a few times, but according to WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker, Paul made the title mean something. Now, at SummerSlam, LA Knight defeated Logan Paul to win the United States Championship. The loss marked the end of Paul's 279-day reign as United States Champion, which featured only a couple of title defenses. Now, despite the number of defenses, the title was prominently featured and displayed on Logan Paul's YouTube videos and in media appearances. Appearing on the latest edition of Impulsive, The Undertaker stated that he believes Logan Paul made the US Championship mean something. He said, quote, "What you've done with your platform for that title has been very impressive. You actually made that thing mean something. What you did, all the places you go, and with your brother, you've got that bout. That's next level commitment, and that's made that bout relevant again." What do you think of The Undertaker's comments there? Is he right, or is that not exactly accurate? Now, Jacob Fatu, of course, there has been some concern about a possible injury status to him, but we do have an update when it comes to how WWE is perceiving his performances since joining WWE. On the June 21st edition of Friday Night SmackDown, former MLW Heavyweight Champion Jacob Fatu made his WWE debut as the newest member of the Bloodline. Since then, Fatu has been a force to be reckoned with and a standout on top of the top faction on the Blue brand. On the August 2nd episode of SmackDown, Fatu teamed with Tama Tonga to defeat DIY to win the WWE Tag Team Championships. Per PW Insider, WWE has been, quote, thrilled with Jacob Fatu's work in the company thus far. The report notes that one WWE source commented that, quote, "He brings a true element of danger." Fatu seemingly possibly suffered a leg injury of some sort during the Cody Rhodes Solo Sikoa Bloodline Rules match for the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam. However, the severity, or if it's actually real or not, remains unclear. Now, going back to NXT last night, we've got a new member of a faction on the brand, while Ren Sinclair has been insisting for several weeks that she wants to join the No Quarter Catch crew. Last night was no exception. She has continued to remind the No Quarter Catch crew that she knows what they did in the parking lot a few weeks ago when they dealt with Damon Kemp. While Charlie Dempsey still tried to rebuff her attempts, when the D'Angelo family walked up and Tony D'Angelo offered an incentive, his mind was changed. Tony D'Angelo said that if Ren Sinclair won her match against Kendall Gray last night, he would give Dempsey a Heritage Cup Championship match. Later, when the match actually occurred, Sinclair was able to pick up the victory and therefore was officially added to the No Quarter Catch crew. Also, as a result, Dempsey will challenge D'Angelo for the Heritage Cup next week. Now, a bit of an update when it comes to this Hulk Hogan movie that's been making the rounds recently. One of the most expensive court cases in recent memory is set to hit the big screens in the near future, as the movie adaptation of a non-fiction book chronicling the infamous lawsuit filed by WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan against Gawker Media already has some big names attached to it. According to Deadline, Academy Award nominated director Gus Van Sant is reportedly in talks to helm the feature titled Killing Gawker, with the Artist Equity Studio set to produce the movie. Artist Equity was founded in 2022 by Hollywood megastars Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who worked with Van Sant on the critically acclaimed 1997 feature Good Will Hunting that earned Van Sant his first Oscar nomination for Best Director, with his second coming for his work on the film Milk starring Sean Penn. The movie is based on Ryan Holiday's book Conspiracy, Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan, Gawker, and the Anatomy of Intrigue, which concerned the lawsuit originally filed in 2013 by Hogan, seeking damages from Gawker Media and its founder Nick Denton for publishing portions of a sex tape Hogan had made in 2012 with Heather Clem, the estranged wife of Hogan's friend Bubba the Love Sponge. Hogan would win the case in 2016 and be awarded a total of $140 million in damages. Peter AEW Insider previously reported that Affleck and Damon themselves may play Hogan and Field respectively. However, Hogan would only receive a portion of this money, as Gorka and Denton both filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June 2016 after revealing they both couldn't afford to pay $140 million. Both parties would eventually settle the dispute out of court, with Hogan receiving a total of $31 million, and the initial article and clips of the tape being removed from Gorka's website. So if we get any more details on that film, of course, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, we've seen recently several WWE superstars signing with the Paradigm Talent Agency, and WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan has also signed for representation. Fresh off last week's SummerSlam, where she retained her title against Rhea Ripley by taking her place in the Judgment Day, Variety reported that she had signed with the talent agency, although she continues to be represented by attorney Brad Small of Fox Rothschild. Paradigm has picked up many a top WWE name in recent months, with Morgan joining a portfolio including CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and Tiffany Stratton. As been previously outlined, the agency works with its clients to expand their reach beyond wrestling, including acting, marketing, and books. On Morgan's side, she does boast a variety of roles, including the independent feature film The Kill Room, alongside Samuel L. Jackson and Uma Thurman, as well as on television in the Chucky series and WWE-themed reality shows. Morgan became the WWE Women's World Champion in May at King and Queen of the Ring, defeating Becky Lynch a month after she had been eliminated by the Man in a battle royal following Rhea Ripley's injury. Ripley was challenging for the title she had never lost at SummerSlam, alongside the ongoing love triangle between them and Dominic Mysterio. That factored into the result, as Mysterio cost Ripley the match and the title, siding with Morgan as they walked away. During Monday's Raw, it was made clear that Ripley and Damian Priest, who had been betrayed by Finn Balor at SummerSlam, were out of the Judgment Day, with Morgan taking her rival's place in the stable. Now, an interesting name is set for SmackDown this week, which again is very curious. Of course, SmackDown will feature the return of Roman Reigns this week. The show, of course, will feature the fallout of the SummerSlam Premium Live event and should set the stage for the upcoming Bash in Berlin PLE on Saturday, August 31st. According to PW Insider, NXT lead coach Matt Bloom is expected to be in attendance at the August 9 episode of SmackDown. Bloom started working as a coach at the Performance Center in 2014. He previously worked as a wrestler under the names of Prince Albert, A-Train, Giant Bernard, and Lord Tensai. No word on what it's going to necessarily be or what he's going to be doing there, if he's going to appear on camera. If we get any more details on that, of course, we'll let you know in an upcoming video. Now, Michael Cole revealed a commentary shakeup recently, but it looks like it's only going to be a temporary one. Now, Monday Night Raw will officially move to Netflix at the start of next year, and WWE's flagship show will air on the streaming service in the United States and other major territories like the United Kingdom. WWE's international fans will also see pay-per-views / premium live events air on Netflix, along with the rest of WWE's weekly programming in NXT and Friday Night SmackDown. NXT will be on the CW in the United States from October 2024, while SmackDown will air on the USA Network. Now, it was announced during the SummerSlam pre-show that ESPN's Joe Tessitore will make his WWE commentary debut on the September 2nd edition of Monday Night Raw, with Michael Cole moving to Friday Night SmackDown. This arrangement will only be temporary, though, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. As things stand at the moment, Michael Cole will move back to Monday Night Raw when the show moves to Netflix in the new year, while Joe Tessitore will likely head to SmackDown. There is no word on which brands Pat McAfee, Corey Graves, and Wade Barrett will be on from September 2nd or the new year. Now, let's talk a little bit about TNA Impact, because the working relationship, of course, between NXT and TNA continues, and Joe Hendry will continue his rivalry with Gallus on his home turf of TNA Wrestling. Shortly after Joe Hendry defeated Joe Coffey on the August 6th episode of WWE NXT, TNA Wrestling announced that Hendry would take on Wolfgang of Gallus on the August 8th episode of TNA Impact. Joe had previously teased continuing his feud with Gallus in NXT and said he believes the numbers will be in his favor in his home territory. So that match is taking place Thursday on Access. Finally, Kota Ibushi, he's going to be wrestling once again in DDT Pro Wrestling. Kota Ibushi officially returns to DDT Pro. DDT Pro Wrestling announced that Kota Ibushi will compete at their event on August 25th at Korakuen Hall. Ibushi will team with Dan Shoko, Dino, and Akito to take on Tetsuya Endo, Yuki Lino, and Yuya Kuroku. Obviously, he's only just returned to pro wrestling matches. He made a surprise return to DDT Pro Wrestling on July 21st at DDT Peter Pan. Ibushi hasn't wrestled an official match since January 2nd, where he battled Namochi Marufuji. He suffered a variety of injuries, including a right tibiofibula ligament tear and a right ankle lateral ligament complex injury. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.